Here in the heart of the great Columbia River Gorge, where the eastern and western slopes of the Cascade Range join together in a complex tapestry of wet and dry ecosystems, a group of friends have worked together for 25 years to purchase and protect an irreplaceable collection of critical forest habitat and adjacent farmland. The dream that motivated was the idea that this remarkable place would someday be the home and foundation of a new kind of learning institution for applied science and the arts, dedicated not just to study, but to work and study, to restore and enhance the carrying capacity of watersheds, the vast power of the living earth to sustain and be fruitful. In the 25-year campaign to create a biodiversity reserve here that could protect this last remaining stand of ancient forest corridor in southern Washington, the Friends of Cold Spring envisioned a research station and entrepreneurial skunk works that could serve as a retreat and extension lab for schools, for organizations, for universities, for businesses working together to understand and demonstrate sustainable practices in the forest, on the farm, and by internet and interactive CD in the classroom and into the home. We called this unusual partnership of stakeholders a learning watershed, and its goal is to develop new understanding, new collaborations, and new economic activity that measurably increases rather than degrades the carrying capacity of this and adjacent watersheds here in the heart of what is now known as the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. It's quite extraordinary that the circumstances of history and commerce, who is normally unmerciful, have left a grove of ancient trees standing on the very rim of the Columbia River Gorge. And it's equally remarkable and vastly inspiring to the Friends of Cold Spring after 2 decades of work that the Portland utility PacifiCorp in November of this year, 98, stated its intention to make a gift of this unique habitat, a 40 and 80-acre parcel, to the not-for-profit Cold Spring Conservancy, honoring the 2 decades of effort by the Friends and trustees to establish here a wildlife reserve and learning center that now will include this ancient surviving habitat. For the northern spotted owl, whose Oregon and Washington populations have been increasingly threatened with isolation as development and logging have eliminated food and habitat, these last remaining old-growth stands on the rim of the gorge and extending up the little white salmon are the best and perhaps the final chance for spotted owl migration across the Columbia River. Active owl circles in the protected forest on the Oregon side encourage the hope that if these stands can be protected permanently, a wild corridor for genetic connectivity between the Oregon and Washington owls can be maintained. PacifiCorp's inspirational gift gives momentum to the Conservancy's campaign to complete the purchase of 8 properties of farm and forest land as a retreat, as a research station, and as a biodiversity reserve. A permanent protected corridor up the Little White Salmon, a way to connect the populations on either sides of the river, and for other species that require this kind of habitat for their travels and for maintaining genetic diversity. Adjacent to the Pacific properties are the Bonnie Bell Grove, another remarkable stand of timber of 40 acres. The Bonnie Bell was held by the Morby family for over half a century without cutting it, a logging family that cherished the place. With the death of Frank and Bonnie Bell Morby, the grove was offered on the opening, and the Friends at Cold Spring recognized the moment of destiny and put in a bid for $5,000 more than any competing offer if they would have a year to raise the money. And so the race to raise the cash was on. By mortgaging The original Cold Spring Farm, borrowing $100,000 from a software entrepreneur in Boston and $30,000 from a doctor in Sacramento, Cold Spring founders were able to keep the saws away and have been successful so far. But the clock is still ticking on these significant debts for which the timber is security. The Bonnie Bell Grove is a core asset at the center of the Little White Salmon Reserve, whose destiny is still hanging in the balance. Adjacent to the Bonnie Bell is Cold Spring Farm, a place where children have come and worked with teachers and families on an informal basis for almost 30 years. Though limited in resources, the Friends had an abundant vision, a vision of a network of self-sustaining apprenticeship programs in the forest and on the land, producing products whose sale might generate income for the Conservancy's conservation and training agendas, like honey, as we do now by the ton, pollen, beeswax and propolis, or goat's milk and cheese, organic fruits and vegetables for local resort hotels and our restaurant clients, musical instruments and other master-crafted wood products like turn bowls and shaker furniture replicas, and interactive curriculum materials that would link and qualify students in the classroom to opportunities for real experience in the watershed. Kids have a bottomless appetite for this hands-on connection to the real world. Understanding this, Cold Spring is working to create a variety of collaborative programs that extend the classroom directly into the field and into the ancient forest. At the university and postgraduate level, as can be seen here with a team of grad students from Oregon Graduate Institute of Science and Technology, Cold Spring is supporting a long-term research project on the removal of the Condit Dam and the restoration of the White Salmon River's extensive salmon spawning grounds. As a quiet retreat, an hour from the Portland International Airport, Cold Spring has come to serve as an offline meeting place on the edge of the ancient forest with world-class organically grown food for international leaders from the business, government, and environmental communities, working to create new partnerships that support more sustainable practices in the marketplace. North of the original retreat is the Spring Canyon acquisition, a 40-acre parcel with a 1-acre original schoolhouse parcel within it, of younger timber with some remaining old structure, very characteristic of the wetter biomes. This contrast of east and west Cascades habitat in one abrupt ecotone has engaged a team of University of Washington researchers in using this complex multi-age and multi-level property as an exercise in testing the School of Forestry's experimental landscape management and inventory software. North of the Spring Canyon, the Harris Ranch, quite heavily forested, much young timber, some structure, significant Scotch broom infestation, and a structurally sound but run-down farmhouse. Immediately to the west of the Harris Ranch is the Green Ranch, an agricultural treasure high on the cliffs over the Little White Salmon Spirit Falls, a ranch with several wild springs and high-quality water, a ranch which serves as an agricultural buffer, organically managed for the salmon hatchery immediately its neighbor, and a site which has served for many sessions as the key conferencing capability at the heart of the Conservancy's conferencing activities. Visible from the Green Ranch, looking down Chenoweth Bench now in this long shot, you see the heavily forested St. Millie's property. Although the Conservancy doesn't have a formal option in this purchase, the Morby family is very supportive of the development of the project if the resources were to become available. The last of the properties held in the Cold Spring Trust is Wind Rim, appropriately named a dramatic property with a south-facing talus slope whose loose stone has protected another block of original forest. The Wind Rim property has a quarter-mile frontage on the Columbia and the lake called Drano, adjacent to the Little White Salmon National Fish Hatchery. This view, taken from the top of Wind Rim, looks east toward Hood River. One critical mission of the Cold Spring Conservancy is to serve as an independent and safe environment for exploring new ideas and new economic partnerships that may protect ancient forest. An example of this kind of program and partnership innovation is the Alpenlodge network idea, based in principle on the well-respected Swiss and Austrian network of staffed alpine hostels linked by footpath roughly a day's walk apart. This Austrian hut, one of a network of over 500, is almost 100 years old. The Northwestern Alpenlodge network envisions a similar system of footpath-connected and staffed structures that have both old-world craftsmanship and quality, but also New World solar and renewable and energy efficiency attributes. A growing network of organizations and friends is working to identify remaining fragments of ancient forest which may be appropriate for such facilities, which in the present design would be developed in collaboration with and managed by partnering colleges and universities. Cold Spring intervened to prevent the cut of original forest in the LaRue timber sale, seen here with its spectacular view of Mount Adams and the Great Lava Bed, arguing that the old tree's economic value in the local economy as part of a permanent Alpenlodge old-growth system was potentially much larger than its value in the traditional resource extraction model, and that therefore an economic analysis needs to be performed before the harvest is allowed to go forward. Cold Spring is a multi-dimensional experiment in progress. A biodiversity reserve, a multidisciplinary school of sustainable watershed management in the building of it, where the arts and science, the young and old, the business community and the environmental community can work together to weave an economic and cultural safety net for these ancient forest corridors and the open space that bounds them. The challenge undertaken by the Friends and Trustees of Cold Spring is to complete the purchase of the land, while the options and opportunity are still before us. We need your support and your involvement. If we fail in the campaign, this unique assembly of ancient forest and wildlife corridor, agricultural land, ideas, and dedicated vision will be lost to us, and to you, and to our children.